You know, I don't know if I hate this series or like it.
By the gods of science fiction!
So I've had to sit through 13 weeks of pure monotonous crap. Right, I'm sorry, this is how I feel about this series after sitting through the final of this. Well, unfortunately, luckily, it wasn't as bad as last year's season final. I mean, where do I start with this? Right, I mean, they've ripped off a load from motion picture, right? Uh, the MC, well, what is it? The dark matter anomaly, whatever it, I've given up on that, right? So, Buck and Tarka escape. Tarka's going to blow it up, but they stop him an engineer lady. She brings back to the ship. Buck convinces him in a big emotional scene that, but he says, I might have the energy to teleport to Kylie or wherever. That is, ship blows up. The tries to bring Buck back to the ship, but he don't fully teleport beam onto the ship. And then it's like Saru getting off with Vulcan chick, right? And then the 10C decide to have more communication, and then so it's 10 monotonous minutes, right, of them stood in front of jellyfish, explaining to them about, well, they all exist as one, so they're in perfect harmony. And somebody says, oh, like the Borg, no, this is more intense. And they're so advanced, they didn't sort of really think about us because we're quite insignificant. But then there's the big emotional scene where, like, yeah, but we're all one, but we're individuals as well. And then they say, what about them two tried to, blow up the thing? Well, they broke away from the door. So they're getting, she starts crying, just burning, right? And then there's all this emotion going on. And it took me back to like that scene where they meet VJ, well, they're all stood there, the entire bridge crew. And they're all expressing love and all this. And then aliens realise, well, these big jellyfish things, the 10C as they're called, sort of realise that, we fucked up. We've been going around destroying living beings. Because like they had to explain to them, because they didn't understand that we existed, that they had to explain to them that there's loads of us that live on planets, and it was like 10 minutes of this, and then they felt regret and sadness at what they'd done. And then they bring Buck back to life because they put his transporter thing into stasis, right? And then what happened after that? It was like he appeared, they brought him back to life or wherever, right? And I'm sat there like thinking, oh, but this can't get any worse as a season final. Now, this series started off rather well. It did. I even said that at the beginning. And then we end up going into this whole big, hyper-emotional thing of explaining of who we are. Now, they've done this so many times in Star Trek. The godlike entity realised it stepped on the ant nest without realising. I mean, there were nothing new or exciting in this. I were hoping that it was some malevolent entity knew what it were doing. And I thought, let's go with something malevolent for once. I mean, last season we had a kid that had a tantrum and destroyed all dilithium crystals across the universe or whatever. Now, look, I'm not a discovery hater. I'm not. I'm not going to join the bandwagon and on this, but if something, the story writing is crap and it's absolute rubbish, then I'm going to go for that. I watched this as this big season final. I thought we're going to get something good. Last week we got a bit of a revelation about him, but it wasn't a bad episode. And then again we got the big season final. and it was one big letdown, a massive letdown. Yeah, that's how I felt. You know, this entire episode. I mean, there were moments where you thought there were potential, but then it just dragged on, and then the aliens cleaned it all up and they stopped it. The jellyfish people or whatever they are, and then it were like they opened up a wormhole. They went back to Earth, and then it all got ridiculous. Everybody's joint federation, you know. Oh yeah, Tilly turned up with Admiral, and they were stopping asteroids hitting Earth because defense shields were failing. And then they both have a drink, and she's like, "Well, I remember when I had this romantic moment with this like fella when sunset were coming up over Starfleet, and he's going on about how much he loves his daughter and his family." And I'm sat there thinking, well, you know, you're not going to be doing that, are you? You know, when like the end of everything. But they were like, you know, it was nice to see Tilly again because I quite like Tilly's character, but it was just like really pointless. I have to say, as a season final, this was completely, utterly pointless. I don't know why I stick with this series. I really don't. There's something that draws you in. There is. But when you watch it, you get so annoyed. It starts off well, and then it just sort of, becomes awkward and annoying, and that. So, after all this like running about and emotional scenes and Saru and the Vulcan and her and Buck, and then she's crying and these fucking jellyfish things didn't realise what they were doing. Oh, sorry. We just destroyed several planets with billions of people on it, and it was an accident. We were just wanted some body night. And then Buck, like after they bring him back, right, he goes up and as the chat with him says, look, you've got to stop this because like even when you turn it off, there's like this toxic energy field. You've got to turn it all off, and they do. And then we get this happy ending at the end, then and like Buck gets done by Federation. He's got to go to some planet to help with relief efforts. And I will say I did like Tarka, the scientist guy. It would have been good if he'd have been kept in it, put on the Discovery. Because I found him and Stamets worked well together. And that was it, really. That was this entire episode of how it was, sort of. It was just disappointing. Well, roll on season 5. And like I said, I'm not a hater. I've stuck with this since episode 1. And trust me, there's been times when I've just not bothered. But I don't get as excited. Like Star Trek, Star Trek's a big part of my life. It was when I was growing up. But this, I don't know what to make of this series anymore. I really don't, So please give this channel a like. Please subscribe. Give us a share. And let me know your thoughts on this. And I'll see you on Star Trek Picard. And the podcast will be up tomorrow. So stay safe, everybody. And have a good weekend.